Hello, everyone. Welcome back. I'm Christine Dixon of the Ordinary Sacred, and this video is truly a sacred one for me. It's an IFS meditation for grief. And I've experienced losses, deep grief. If you've been human long enough, you've likely experienced losses and have grieving parts. So whatever parts brought you to this video, I want to welcome them to this space. You are not alone. All your parts are welcome here. And this meditation is going to be based on the teachings of Derek Scott, beloved IFS teacher, who ironically, his teachings on grief helped me process his loss as he passed earlier this year and is now an ancestor. But what Derek teaches is that when we have a loss, we have two different sets of clusters of parts. Our grieving parts that often hold intense emotions, our sadness, our anger, our bargaining, our overwhelm, our terror. And we have a set of parts he calls the restoration parts that go to work often to exile or try to push down the grieving parts so that we can function in our everyday lives. And we want to honor both sets of these parts. In what Derek calls simple grief, these parts will naturally oscillate back and forth. But if we have complex grief, we might get stuck in one or the other. And if you are coming to this video, you may be blended with grieving parts right now, and I want to honor them and let them know that we are going to create designated time for them. But I also want to first acknowledge this restoration group of parts and really get their permission to go into this meditation. So I'm actually going to speak directly to your restoration parts. I want to tell you that I appreciate you. I see you working really hard. I see you trying to help this person, this beautiful person watching this video, function in everyday life. I know you feel like you need to push down the parts who hold the grief because it's so big and it's so intense. And you're likely afraid that if you open the door to that, that it'll never be closed and it will overwhelm the person that you're in. And I want to assure you that the person who is not a part that you are in is bigger than these parts and is loving and has the capability to hold them and to comfort them. And that ironically, allowing them to come up is actually what will allow them to relax, because when we keep trying to push them down, they actually push harder in equal and opposite direction. They just so desperately want to be seen and heard. So giving this space and this time to those grieving parts will actually allow them to relax from being seen and heard. And then you, restoration parts, can come back in and continue with your everyday tasks. So thank you for allowing this person to be here and to do this meditation for a, a container of time. Okay, so now, and I want to say to you, yourself, who's not a part, if you need to spend some time with the restoration cluster, the restoration cluster over here, meet any concerns that they have, you are welcome to pause the video and do that. And they can always rush in if they think things are too intense. And we can meet there, you can meet their concerns. And they can also process with you afterward. They can even just watch and listen to this video without letting you do the meditation to assess whether they think it's safe to do in the future. All right, we're not trying to steamroll over them. So now, what I want to invite you to do actually is to create a space that is safe and comfortable and supportive for these tender parts that we're going to invite in. So you can see behind me, I have some of my favorite supplies here. I like to have pillows, warm blankets, maybe a robe, some stuffed animals can be really nice. They can represent parts or they can just be comforting. I have headphones, like if you want to listen to music, maybe some tissues, some Kleenex. I also have some warm tea here in my Ecuador mug. And then so you can get whatever feels right for you to create a comforting space to really honor that this is a special time uh, to allow your parts to come up and be held in comfort and safety. And you don't have to get anything if you don't want to get anything. I'm also going to grab something here. Oh. Another thing that you might want to get, sorry, another thing that you might want to get is something that reminds you of the person or thing or pet perhaps that you've lost. So for example, I have a candle here that smells like gardenia, which was the favorite scent of my grandmother. So if I'm wanting to honor grief, the loss of my grandmother, I might grab this. Um, if I want to honor the grief of my children leaving the nest and no longer being in my home with me, I might grab some things, some pictures or some things that remind me of my children. It could be the person you're grieving could be alive, especially around the holidays. You might be grieving the fact that you don't have relationship. You're estranged from someone, or it might be someone who has died, has passed. And go ahead and get something perhaps that reminds you of that person. Again, you don't have to do that. You don't have to do anything I ask. Do what is best for you. All right. And now we will begin the meditation. Okay. I invite you to take a deep breath if that feels supportive to you, and just feel where your body is supported by the surface you're on or by the earth. And you can close your eyes or you can have a soft gaze. I invite you to imagine that you are in an open, safe space. So this might be a meadow or perhaps the beach, or it might just be the room that you're in right now, sitting in stillness. And I invite you to take the tangible item that you got, or perhaps you can just imagine an image or a symbol in front of you. Just place that right in front of you. We're making an intention to focus. And you might notice parts arising in your body or in your mind, even now. Maybe agitation, maybe heaviness, shallow breathing, racing thoughts. If you can, just notice what's here. Acknowledge their presence. I see you. I see you. I see you. And as you notice them, see if you can focus on your heart space. And that the attention, the loving attention you're giving to them is coming from this heart space. You can place your hand on your heart if you want to, or just imagine that your breath is coming from and going back to your heart. And as you keep breathing from your heart, you notice that there's light radiating from that space, light and warmth. And as you keep breathing in and out, that light, that love, that warmth from your heart is able to give compassionate with-ness to whatever's alive in you. And as you keep breathing, that light expands further and further in front of you. And it's able to hold and be with and allow and notice whatever is alive in you. And if this seems difficult, you can call on your ancestors' selves. Call on higher power, all capital self, who is love, to come and create an orb of unconditional love and safety around you. And for a moment, sit in this space of love and light. And know that anything that arises in this space can be held tenderly without judgment for yourself. This love is bigger even than your biggest grief. And any time through this meditation, if you want to pause and have more time, you're welcome to do that. As you sit here with your parts who are manifesting in your body and in your mind, surrounded by love, you notice that your cluster of restoration managers are kind of patrolling the periphery of this circle of light. And you might see them, or you might just sense their vigilant energy. And you can also use external objects if you'd like to represent them, to relate to them. But what you notice about this cluster of vigilant managers is that they are all looking outward. They're making sure that nothing gets in your circle of tenderness, and that the intense emotions of your grief cluster don't come out. So I invite you to invite them to turn around if they can and look at you, yourself, who's not a part, who's sitting at the head of this circle, radiating love and light. Let them see how big and bright you are. And if it feels right to you, let them know that you see their hard work and you appreciate them. And that they can rest just for a few minutes if they will allow you to tend to the grieving parts that they're so diligently protecting. They can sit down, they can go to the side if they want, they can rest. They can always come in if they're concerned, ask you to stop. And if you need to negotiate with them the amount of time that they're willing to let you be with the grieving parts, you can do that too, and pause and take whatever time you need. But if this restoration cluster is willing to let you be with the pain, with the parts who are broken inside, the parts who are raging, the parts who have disbelief, the parts who feel intense sadness, terror, fear, trembling, tears. Invite these parts in to this circle of light, to come up, to come forward, to show themselves, to be with you. This is a safe space for them. And again, you might imagine these parts in front of you. They might take form. You might feel their energy. You might feel it in your body. Or you might want to represent them with stuffed animals or pillows or other objects. Just see how they show up and welcome them to this space. And if a part at any time blends too much where you feel overwhelmed by it, you can ask the part to be nose to nose with you so that you have enough space to give them attention. Whatever you notice arising, you can say, I see you. I'm here with you. You're not alone. Or perhaps, beloved, I'm here. I see your suffering, and I am here. As long as you need to be with these parts, you can pause the video. And now, see if there is a specific part who needs your attention most right now. And you can invite them to come in front of you. Perhaps there's a special blanket or chair right in front of you. Allow that part to come up and show you whatever they want to show you. Maybe they want you to feel what they feel and really get it, to be allowed to feel. Perhaps they want to express something in words or images, memories. Just allow them to show you whatever they want you to know about their experience. Again, you can pause the video and take as much time as you'd like. And now ask this part, what do you most need from me? And just receive an answer directly from the part. You don't have to think anything up. What do you most need from me? And you can pause the video to listen to the part's answer. And you can thank this part for letting you know whatever it has, even if it wasn't able to open up, it didn't feel safe enough yet. That's still letting you know something. And you can give this part whatever physical gesture of comfort or words of comfort or presence that you feel impelled to give from this core space of love within you. And now, as you might notice other parts in your grief cluster there that might also want your attention, I encourage you to make an appointment with one of them. And when you make an appointment, it's a specific day. a specific time, a specific place, when you will come back and you can follow this meditation again, or you can just do the gist of what we've done here with another part. It could even be the same part that needs to be seen again and again. Or you can just make an appointment and see who comes up. I know for me, early stages of grief often require appointments at least daily, maybe a couple times a day. They gradually get further apart with time. But these parts really, really desperately need to be seen and heard and loved. It's like opening the pressure cooker, the little valve on the pressure cooker to release a little bit of the pressure, a little bit at a time. So I invite you to thank all the parts who have come to this meeting. The grieving cluster, the restoration cluster for giving you this space. Again, you can hug them, you can radiate gratitude toward them. Just express love in whatever way feels right to you. And let them know perhaps when you'll be back. Continue breathing. Notice your breath. Notice your body where it touches the surface you're on. And slowly begin transitioning back into the space that you're in. Thank you. Thank you to your restoration parts for letting you do this. Thank you to any grieving parts who felt safe enough to come up and be seen and heard and held. I do want to say a couple things from my experience with meditations and making space for grief like this. Sometimes when you allow a space for the grieving parts, especially if they have been suppressed by the restoration parts for a long time, it may kind of feel like you've opened the floodgates and now they think, oh my gosh, I'm going to get attention whenever I want. And they might come up throughout the day. Little things might activate them and you'll feel it. And so what I would suggest is that one, you just check in that moment whether you feel like you have the capacity to be with them. I remember, hearing a song on the radio in the grocery store and the flood of grief would come up and I didn't know how to process it. So the restoration part would just work really hard to white knuckle it and shut it down, shut it down. But eventually I learned that I could hold onto the cart or I could put my hand on my chest and say, oh my goodness, I see you. I see you here and I am with you. I love you. And in just doing that, there's a little bit of unblending because I'm the one who sees them. I see you. I am with you. And they feel less overwhelming to the system because there's one who is with them. And then they would relax. Oh, thank God you see me and I'm allowed to be here. It is so true that often the restoration parts try to push them down. So they try to push up more and more and more. And that's why you feel such tension and it feels like it's going to burst open. But once they know that they can be there and it's okay, they actually relax. So sometimes I will even say to them, you have permission to get bigger. And ironically, the response is often they go, I do. They feel so relieved that they actually get smaller. They actually relax. So that's an experiment you can try. But if you are in that moment and the restoration cluster does not trust self energy yet, and it needs to push them down, that's completely okay. They're doing a really valuable job, those manager parts. And so what you might do is suggest, can we designate a time, make an appointment? Maybe right now is not the best time, but we can, you know, get our things together, make an appointment, go somewhere private and safe. Like I like to go on the floor in my closet and just be with those parts. And the last thing I want to say is, so I did this meditation. Sometimes I like to share what came up for me. I did it yesterday after I created it, and mine was really about our house. We're selling our house. I have so many parts who are very excited about that, and other parts who are feeling loss and grief around it. And so they haven't had as much of a voice. So I wanted them to have a voice. And they told me, if we lose the house, we lose our memories of our children, our tangible connection to our children. And it was fascinating because I asked them, are you afraid of, like, this is Brian's in my bedroom. Are you afraid of losing the bedroom? And I said, no, because I still have daily connection with Brian. So that revealed, oh, so the loss you're really feeling is the loss of your children who have left the house, who've left the nest, and you feel like that means you're going to lose connection to the memories, the connection to them. And so then those parts were able to come up and say, yes, yes, that's the loss we're really feeling. And I asked them, what do you need the most? And they said, we need you to allow us to feel sad because the sadness equals the love. We need you to designate space and time to reminisce, to feel the good feelings of the memories and to revel in them, and perhaps to have pictures to look at and to appreciate and enjoy the things that are now lost, right? That are no longer there. And so I said, yeah, I agree with that. I ended up watching a movie that's about mothers with sons who have grown up, and was able to allow my parts to emote and cry as I watched this movie. So that's an example of just some of the fruits that came up. But again, those parts later in the day and the next day came up a little bit again. And that was okay. I felt like, oh, I see you. I see that you're here. I'm so glad that you're able to express yourselves. You don't have to go anywhere. I feel you. I know your heaviness. I know your sadness. And it's okay. It's okay to be here. I'm with you. I'm with you. All right. Thank you for watching this video. Perhaps if you didn't do the meditation, you just observed it, you can check in with your parts and see how they feel about doing it in the future, maybe doing it regularly and tailoring it to your needs and exactly how you want to do it. And if you have any questions for me about the meditation or perhaps comments about sharing about your experience and to hear from others and their experience, please leave them in the comments below.